by Green. Throws it back up top. James puts up the three. Oh, it's good! LeBron James from downtown.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode. My name is William.
Little man.
And today we're going to talk about the status of the AFC. Last week we mostly touched on the AFC East and also the NFC. Now we're going to go ahead and talk about the AFC in depth because this recent Week 9, a lot of things were shaken up. A lot of teams lost and a lot of teams climbed the power rankings, and it's going to shape up for an interesting second half of the year. I don't know about you, but I feel like the final 8 weeks of the season are always the longest compared to the first weeks.
I mean, these first couple weeks flew by like it was like crazy.
I don't remember the season going by this fast, but
I don't know.
So every game is gonna mean more and more. So we're gonna go ahead and get into it. First, we're gonna talk about the Bills. As you know, the Bills on Sunday lost to the New York Jets, division opponent, 20-17. Is there any injury status with Josh Allen? We do know that he.
Yeah, I know that they're checked on his elbow today, but they're supposed to give out an update, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything.
I haven't gotten anything, no reports on Rappaport or Schefter,
Mm-hmm.
anybody yet. I think the team's just gonna keep it to themselves for a couple more days, for game planning reasons. I feel like, but I mean, I don't know, because that's not an injury you want to beat around the bush with.
Yeah.
It's I believe it's his nerves and his elbow, so I guess we'll see. But to me, it's Josh Allen. A lot of people think he's like a Superman type of athlete.
He'll
but
push through it.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that would be something they want.
I think, you know, I mean, you never want your starting quarterback to be hurt, but especially with this week and this game that's coming up against the Vikings, who have won every single game that has been within one possession. They're 6-0, and this Vikings pass rush has been amazing for the past few weeks, starting to heat up. Now, with this past game on Sunday, I did say in the past video that no team is invincible, not even the Bills. No matter how much people wanted to say on paper that they looked stacked and of course they are stacked. They are very good. They're led by the top two quarterback in the NFL. But there's just a trend with this team, and it goes back to last year and even the year before when they lost. Who did they lose in the playoffs? The Chiefs, yeah, in the AFC Championship game. So. My concerns, or do you want to go first? Actually, you go first with your concerns.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, I have to say Josh Allen's turnovers, right? They're not just bad turnovers; they were horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Those two throws literally looked the defender right in the eye and threw it right to him.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he's trying to throw that one away. And the other one was just blatantly bad, in my opinion.
To me, the second one was worse than the first.
The second one was, yes, it was worse. And then he also fumbled, I believe, and then the last possession of the game made it 3rd and 21.
That was the play.
But I do have to cut him some. Yeah, that was the play. He hurt his
Mm-hmm.
arm, but I do have to cut him some slack because first of all, that Jets pass rush is insane this year, and second of all, his offensive line kind of crumbled in the second half. Not that much protection. You know, it was really a struggle for the running game, as always with the Bills. I mean, it just seems like it's week in, week out. There'll be one game every year where they probably drop 200, and it's mostly Josh Allen. But the pass protection just wasn't all there. And the Jets, I mean, you can say the offense is bad all you want. You know, Zach Wilson isn't that dude. But if you give them as many chances as they did on Sunday, it's going to fall apart. And I feel like that's what the Bills do a lot. But the one thing I will say, that does worry me also, is that these two losses have division opponents.
Yeah,
that's arguably the two other best division rivals that you have in the AFC East.
Two of the best AFC teams.
I mean, you can see it as a positive as when they don't play the division, they're obviously 6-0. But when they do, and those teams are going to make the playoffs. I feel like the Jets and Dolphins. I feel like they'll both be there down the line. So
we just said we didn't feel like the Jets were going to make it last video.
Yeah,
I mean,
they shut us up again. Like they do it every week. So I mean, I think I'm ready to say they will. I take everything.
I'm still gonna wait. Because But going on with the Bills, even looking back to last week or the week before that against the Packers on Sunday night, Josh Allen was kind of keeping the Packers in that game. It's just that the Packers couldn't capitalize and score. But it could have gotten very ugly. And yeah, Josh Allen is up to 10 interceptions now this year? That's not really that great. I mean, it's not horrible, but you want to see more from your potential MVP winner.
Ball security.
This game, he was 18 of 34, 205 yards. On the ground, 9 attempts, 86 yards. And he had 2 touchdowns rushing the ball. Now, he had a spectacular play running for like a 30-plus yard run, touchdown run down the sideline. But my biggest concern with this Bills team is, one, you allowed the Jets to, without Breece Hall, to go 7 plays, 70 yards, and score on the final drive. Also, Josh Allen, his 2 interceptions look bad, and you have no running game outside of Josh Allen. The second closest rusher was 24 yards with it was Devin Singletary, and then Dalvin Cook's brother, I don't know his first name. Dalvin Cook's brother had 15 yards on 4 attempts. So you really don't get any production from your running backs. It's all Josh Allen, which is fine. But as we know, if anything happens to him, let's say he can play this week, but he's limited. You have to lean on the run game. They can't do that now because the running backs aren't getting any production. And as you were saying, the offensive line wasn't doing that well.
For what it's worth, I feel like they should give a lot more touches to Nyheim Hines.
Oh,
I think he averaged at least like 4.5 yards per rush on Sunday.
I don't even see him on the stat sheet. I don't know if he played.
Yeah, I know he played.
He did?
Like 5. I think he scored a rushing touchdown for them.
Oh, damn. Well, he's not on here.
Or did he not play? Well, I don't know. Like I seen his stats on a website. But that could have been. I guess it could have been from when he was with the Colts.
You just got ball sacked. Ball sacked
sports.
But looking at their other loss as well, they only scored 17 points. Again, they did have 19, but due to the safety. But Josh Allen, 42 of 63 with 400 yards. That's great, right? But he only mustered up 17 points. And again, he was their leading rusher with 47 yards. That's not a trend that you want to continue. As you were saying, you made a great point. If all the losses are coming from division opponents, not only is that going to hurt you morally, but also it's going to hurt down the line when you actually have to win these games now. We all know for the Bills, it's not about making the playoffs. It's not about being a top seed. It's about getting home field advantage for the first time and winning a Super Bowl. That's their expectations. That's their standard. So this is kind of nervous. I'm nervous for them. I do think they're going to bounce back from it, but also we have to see how Josh Allen comes out. So, scale from 1 to 10, how bad are you panicking?
I don't think I panic too much.
So what, you're like a 3-4?
The Bills are like a team that bounces back pretty well. They're getting Trey White, I believe, this week or next week. Either way, he'll help down the line. They do have some young studs who have to fill in for some veterans on that defense, which I've really been impressed with, like Hamlin and I believe his name is Jackson, number 47, the corner, and Kyer Elam. They've all played very well for this defense. Just the one negative thing I have to say is the offensive line. That's the big thing I worry about.
Also, I mean, for me, on terms of the panic level, I'm a 5. Simply because I still think they're the best team in the NFL. I think they're the most well-rounded team on the NFL. But if you look at these other teams who I consider in the top 3, the Eagles and the Chiefs have proven that they can win just leaning on their quarterback. They won a Super Bowl doing it. The Eagles have an identity when it comes to running the ball. Jalen Hurts could also run the ball. And you also have a passing game. You also have a good defense. So I'm not worried about them. But with the Bills, we've seen it. We've seen it again for the past 2-3 years, them being in the playoffs. And that's a big lacking component of their football team. So that's why I'm a 5. Anything else you had to say about the Bills?
No.
You don't think you give your rating. What'd you give it?
Yeah, like a 3.
Like a 3? Okay.
Yeah.
So moving on. Another team that kind of climbed our ranking. And again, every team that plays on primetime Monday Night Football and they make some noise, they have a good game, people are going to take notice to their performances. And the Baltimore Ravens have looked very good in the past few weeks. Now, we do know the first few games were kind of surprising. We expected this team to be a little bit better record-wise. But again, it was early on in the year, blowing 2 big leads to the Bills and also the Dolphins at home. But now they kind of corrected that, also against the Giants. But they also corrected that a little bit. Do you see this team making any noise to potentially upset the Chiefs or the Bills?
What's his name? I think it was Troy Aikman or Joe Buck. One of them said it. They said it doesn't really matter who they have on their offense, who's on their backfield, who's on their defensive line, offensive line. They'll always be ready. They play the second man up or the next man up stereotype very well. So I do think that they can make some noise in the playoffs, especially if their defensive line is playing like that. And we haven't even seen Owe and I believe Ojabo, the rookie. They haven't even played together. Patrick Bowser made a lot of noise on Monday night. Hey man, Justin Houston, the 35-year-old Hall of Famer, in my opinion.
Hall of Famer for sure.
And the way Lamar Jackson's playing, I mean, once again, in my opinion, they do have the best running game in the NFL.
I would say so, yeah.
Now. And I feel like it'll be like that for a very long time if Lamar Jackson stays healthy, and especially if that offensive line can do this consistently in week in and week out.
Week in and week out.
And I do think that will help them in the playoffs. But it all comes down to is Bateman out for the year?
Bateman's out for the year. Yeah,
He's out for the year, right?
They replaced him with 35-year-old
we'll
Deshaun
see,
Jackson.
We'll see who got hurt on Monday night. So we'll see what these receivers do. Step up. Mark Andrews. They'll implement a lot of Isaiah Likely coming up. Devin Duvernay will for sure get some reps and Prochet. Can't remember his name. It's just all about giving those guys confidence, and John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson will be behind them when it comes to that. So yeah, I think they can make some noise in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree with a lot with what you said. There's a lot to look forward to if your team wins 27-13. You only have 131 passing yards. Lamar didn't look that good passing the ball, but I mean that's kind of what you get with him. And we've seen prior, earlier in the year, that
they really had the Chiefs recipe cooking up for this game.
What was it?
I said that the Chiefs will game plan. They'll use your strengths against you. They'll attack your strengths.
Yeah.
That's literally what the Baltimore Ravens have. Because everyone knows that the Saints have been a top 5 rushing defense for the past 5-6 years.
Yeah.
And the Ravens went off for what? 160?
181.
181.
Oh, 188 actually.
Yeah. So that just shows to prove that they really don't care who you are. They'll pound the ground.
Yeah, so looking at Lamar, wasn't playing that great through the air, but with his legs, looked amazing. As we said, 188 rushing yards. And yeah, Kenyon Drake, who was kind of bouncing around from team to team, looks like he potentially found a home. Yeah, I don't know why, but it looks like he potentially found a home now. And as you were saying, J.K. Dobbins is hurt, Gus Edwards is hurt, Mark Andrews was hurt, Bateman was out, and they still looked amazing.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest sleeper, or the biggest component that no one is really talking about, is their defense playing a lot better.
And Marcus Williams was hurt too, so Kyle Hamilton got a lot of run.
Yeah, so their defensive line was playing great. You just added Roquan Smith, who in my opinion is probably the best linebacker in the NFL right now. He's playing out of his mind. You also have your secondary, who's playing better. And again, earlier on in the year, it was part of them covering, but also their defensive line wasn't getting pressure at all. But now they're starting to click. So, and again, they also have a 1-game lead against the Bengals, who are also looking good because they won that game on Sunday night. So I think it's looking bright. Do I think they could compete with the top 2 teams? I certainly do. I do, but
I mean, look back at it. They were 20-3 on the Bills.
And
then they just a second half collapse, which I don't think that would happen again if they played. I feel like if they played the Bills again, I feel like it'd be a neck and neck game.
All I'm saying is I want the Bills and the Ravens in the playoffs again. I think that's going to be a very, very good game. But I don't think they could challenge them yet because of the lack of outside talent and their outside weapons. I think Deshaun Jackson is a great piece to complement the offense, but he's not going to be anything to really game plan for him. And I think it's kind of, you need more help on the outside. One thing that I kind of want to look at is that no one's really talking about OBJ to the Ravens. And I feel like he would really want to play with Lamar. We know Lamar isn't top 5 when it comes to arm talent, but he could get the job done. And he's been elevating his game ever since he's came into the league. So I think that could be a fine piece to add to their team as well.
I don't know how true it is. I seen it on Twitter. And some of these reporters just kind of like to yap. But I know they said that he wants to go to a team where it's really warm and it's an inside stadium. He prefers. But I know Baltimore, they don't got nothing crazy over there.
Oh no, it gets very cold in Baltimore.
Very cold.
I mean, it's the East Coast,
but it's also real grass, right? It's not turf.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, they're not in Buffalo and those areas, but it still gets pretty cold over there.
Huge debate going on right now: grass versus turf.
Oh, grass versus a lot of the injuries with the Packers and stuff like that. Yeah. So anything else you have with the Ravens? Do you think the Ravens could compete with the top 2 teams?
Yeah, I see them competing more with the Bills than I do the Chiefs, just simply due to the fact that Pat Mahomes and Manny Reid has the Ravens number.
That's true, except for last year. But that was his first win, right?
His first win.
Yeah.
He was 1-4.
Okay. Now we're going to talk about the AFC West. Now, to kind of set this whole segment up, AFC West looked like the best potential division on paper of all time. We really were thinking, who's going to win this division? Every single division game is going to be a shootout. Every division game is going to be very competitive, and these teams are going to be neck and neck the entire year. That didn't play out. It's the NFL. I don't know what we were thinking that this was actually going to be a historic division.
Saying that all 4 teams are
going to make the playoffs. I feel like the entire NFL community, all the fans just have to take this L. It's not shaping up to how we even thought it was going to be. No. It's not even close. But 2 teams that are close, Kansas City Chiefs and the LA Chargers. Now, the only thing that separates these 2 teams is a Thursday night game when the Chiefs won that game and they pulled away last minute to win that game. So that's pretty much the only thing that's separating these two teams. Now, who in the AFC West do you want to touch on first?
I think we can poke the elephant in the room.
Okay.
Not me. We can talk about the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah. Let's talk about them.
A whole lot of expectations. We tried. I mean, I tried. A lot of these analysts tried to say Josh McDaniels is not that guy when it comes to head coach.
You said you liked his play calling.
I liked his play calling when he's offensive coordinator, not a damn head coach.
Mm-hmm.
But then you got Derek Carr. All these weapons that the Raider Nation was saying that they couldn't be dealt with.
Who's going to guard Adams? Who's going to guard
Darren Waller has played, 2 games, 3 games?
Yeah, and one of them we dropped 4 touchdowns.
Hunter Renfro's been hurt, and he's been arguably one of the worst slot receivers this year in football.
Better than Keenan Allen.
Devontae Adams is, he's been, I guess you could say he's still been himself, but you can tell there's something off with his connection or, I don't know, his relationship with Josh McDaniels.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's Derek Carr. We heard this yapping. I heard these debates all over the place. Derek Carr versus Hurts. Derek Carr versus Dak. Or Derek Carr versus even Herbert. Yeah. Yeah, that's wild. You give them all these weapons. That's what they were saying. And it just hasn't worked out. Honestly, I don't know why if some Raider fans think that it would be horrible if they moved on from Carr, but I say you look into the draft. Bryce Young. There's a lot of talent this year. Bryce Young, homeboy from Florida. I can't remember his name. C.J. Stroud. It's just a lot of young guys who go from big time schools, and I think that they should look into that.
Going on with the quarterback situation, I think we all know Derek Carr doesn't want to leave the Raiders. He's given his entire life, and he's very dedicated to this organization. Mm-hmm. But at some point, he's going to have to leave, and I think that there are a lot of teams and a lot of suitors that could really use his help. Look at teams, the 2 New York teams. I don't want to really talk about Zach Wilson, that he's horrible, but he might be on the hot seat if he isn't, elevating his game for this last 9 weeks of the season. I do think Carr could kind of help these teams out, teams that kind of need a quarterback. They're, Indianapolis, yeah. So, and the thing is, I also agree that the Raiders at some point, I think nowadays people try to look for the next Mahomes and Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts, but I think that you kind of have to take the bullet and you're just going to have to say, all right, we can't get anything done with Derek Carr. We're going to have to kind of just move on from him. And I agree with you. There's a lot of quarterbacks that are coming out. Devontae Adams has looked hungry. And it's kind of weird saying this for a guy who's borderline a certified Hall of Famer. With a few 2-3 years of production more, he probably would be a Hall of Famer right now. But it looks crazy to see how out of nowhere he could flip a switch, and this offense could flip a switch, and they could just score in a heartbeat. I didn't like how little Josh Jacobs was getting incorporated in the offense this past game. I didn't like that, especially how great he's looked. He's probably looked. This is his best he's ever looked in his career. But one thing, news that just came out of Las Vegas is that Jonathan Abram got released today. Now, another first-round pick that was kind of done with. Now, if you look at this, Alex Leatherwood got cut. Henry Ruggs, we all know his situation. Damon Arnett, we know what happened with him on the whole scandal. Jonathan Abram got cut recently, and again they were trying to trade him around, but I think they were asking for too much. And I do think Jonathan Abram could fit a team where he could kind of be more of like a strong safety, a little bit of a linebacker, and a team that has a few other good safeties. Like a hybrid player. Josh Jacobs, they said his 5th year was declined. Also, Cleveland, I can't say his first name. Cleveland Farrell, also his 5th year was declined. Now, going on with everyone talking about the Raiders before the season. I know Raiders fans usually aren't used to kind of having good football teams and, what it takes to have a good football team. It's not just 7-on-7. You don't just have Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, Devontae Adams. You need a defense. You need an offensive line. You need coaching.
Are we talking about the offensive line being a problem too?
Yeah, the offensive line has still been a problem. In the run game, they've been a lot better, but still passing-wise, Derek Carr's taken a lot of sacks, but he's also been under a lot of pressure. I don't know what else to tell you guys. I mean, if you guys still think that the Raiders could pull it out, a lot of Raider fans were saying they were going to go on this streak. Streak hasn't started yet, but they're saying they're going on this streak because of the level of competition they're playing. You guys are the same level that you guys are playing. You guys aren't some great team. Oh, we're going to play the Jags. We're playing the Colts. We're playing Texas. Whatever. No, you guys are the same team as them. Your record is horrible. You guys don't look consistent. I don't know why Raiders fans get so arrogant. And I mean, Luis, Isaac, I feel for you guys, but any other Raider, my dad as well, but any other Raider fan just sucks. So anything else you have to talk about the Raiders?
Tough.
Now, let's talk about the Chargers. Chargers, I would say they've been disappointing because of the way they've looked, but record-wise, they're probably on par to what we thought they were going to be. 5-3. They've been winning a lot of closer games. One thing I was kind of harping on them last year. I want to see them win close games. They've been doing that this year. And Justin Herbert had 2 game-winning drives this past Sunday. Now, he was, driving the ball. Austin Eckler carries it, fumbles it. The Falcons run back. They fumble it. Herbert, one play, dime for 20 yards, gets them back in field goal range. And this guy has nothing to work with. Keenan Allen's hurt. Mike Williams is out for a month. He has no one. Again, he has good complementary pieces. Exactly. He has good complementary pieces, but he doesn't have it. He doesn't have a deep threat. He doesn't have anyone to run a route over 15 yards who's actually a threat. And he was playing great. And I feel like this is one of his statement wins. And again, a lot of people like to say he hasn't made the playoffs. I understand that, but this is a game where you see his 2 best talents are out, and he played great. Anything else you have to say about the Chargers?
I mean, you could say what you want, but that Atlanta Falcons team, they're gritty. They're gritty. They're always going to give you their best, as every NFL team does. But they're not up there with a lot of rosters in the NFL. So that's surprising that they're in a 3-way tie right now in the NFC South. And I was really impressed with the Chargers win. Justin Herbert hasn't had a 300-yard game, I believe, in 3 straight. But considering what he's had, and he's been able to pull off wins like this, it's pretty impressive to me. Austin Eckler is I'm gonna say he's a top 3 running back in the NFL.
Yeah, Austin Eckler could do it all. He's
a third down back. He's the size of a freaking bulldozer. He's the big legs, the big upper body. He'll get it done in the passing game, running game, whatever. He doesn't care how bad his offensive line is. It's really impressive what their defense is doing too.
Yeah, the defense with no Joey Bosa.
Yes, key sacks, key takeaways. We literally saw Khalil Mack rip the ball away from Drake London in a critical situation.
That was a great
literally like it was nothing.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with this team. Do I still see them making the playoffs? Maybe as a wild card. Probably as that last seed, 7 or 6. I think this is the year Herbert can make it. And depending on who he plays, I think he has a shot.
I think these next 3 games are going to be very telling of how they look. They have, on Sunday Night Football, they have the Niners, and they go to San Francisco. That's going to be a great game because, again, Herbert doesn't have anything to work with. He's going to face a great pass rush. This is going to be a very big test for them, and it's going to be nice to see how their defense responds. And then they play Kansas City, which we know they always fight and battle them. But this time, again, Herbert doesn't really have any help on the outside. Let's see how he does. Then they play Arizona. And then they also go on to play the Raiders, and they have the Dolphins later on, Week 14. So these next upcoming games are going to really show if they could give the Chiefs a run for their money later on in the year. But I still think this team is right where you expect them to be, especially with all the injuries that they've battled. But yeah, I'm just very impressed with this team right now. I was kind of on the fence of kind of bailing on this team, but they're back in it, and they look great. All right, let's wrap it up.
Wait, we didn't talk about the Broncos.
Nah, fuck off.